How's it going, everyone? It's your boy Dak908, aka the Dig Dug himself. Yours truly here again with some more Monster Hunter Generation stuff, and today, guys, we're going to break down the lance even further. That's right, I'm going to do this follow-up video on my original one, in which I talked about my favorite lances, what it takes to lance, and what the lance is all about. So this time, we're going to talk about the skills, hunting styles, hunting arts, hunting sets that you can use, etc. So that way you can be the greatest lancer out there. Now, for the first bit, let's focus on the skills. The most important skill to a lancer is guard. Now, you can either use guard 1 or guard 2. In this game, they're both really strong. Before, guard 1 wasn't as strong as it is now, but now you can use guard 1 and be totally fine with it. What guard does is, it lessens the slide back that you have when you block an attack from a monster. On top of that, it can actually be the key factor in being able to counter a monster attack or not countering a monster attack simply because the attack itself hit you too hard. So, if you get a lancing set, you're totally going to want to have guard on there. Now, guard will be the first ability you have, but the second ability that you have can either be guard up, which is the ability to guard unblockable attacks. Like unblockable attacks like the beam from a monster, like Nactor's laser beam. There's a lot of attacks in the game, not a whole lot, but there's some attacks in the game that are deemed as unblockable because the only way which you can block them is with a particular skill. I don't really recommend guard up because there's not enough attacks in the game like that to warrant the use of it. But I just want to let you guys know that's what guard up does. But I am a defensive lancer. I use my guard ability coupled with a stamina ability, which ties directly into my guarding ability. Like, you can only guard as much as you have stamina for. So with that being the case, if you want to be a defensive lancer like your boy right here, I recommend getting Constitution, which decreases the amount of stamina used when you do block, or stamina recovery up, which increases the speed in which your stamina recovers. Now, either of these skills are going to be great with the lance. It's either or, tomato tomato, or both of these, because at the end of the day, for the most part, they kind of balance each other out. Now, if you can get both skills on the same set, then you're in for some real good times, okay? So those are defensive skills: stamina, recovery up, and Constitution. There's a bunch of other skills out there in this game, but not very many of them actually benefit the lance defensively. So let's go to the offensive lancing skills, because these skills will help you if you want to be the aggressive lance type. Now, starting off the list, we have Weakness Exploit. Weakness Exploit does more damage when you hit a monster on its weak spot. Let's say a monster's weak spot is his head. Let's say you do 80 damage by hitting in his head. With Weakness Exploit, you do like 110 damage by hitting in its head. The multiplier isn't exactly that, but you do more damage by attacking the weak points to a monster with Weakness Exploit. And it's a lance that has precision strikes. It's a lot easier to actually land these strikes consistently than most of the other caster weapons in this game. Trust me, I'm a lancer. Next, you have Elemental Attack Up, for the fact of having higher elemental attack. You know, it's great. It's better than using Water Attack Up or Fire Attack Up or what have you, because it's more versatile. It just works with all of them. If you're fighting a monster that has low weaknesses to a particular element and is susceptible to a lot of elemental attacks, you might want to run this ability coupled with a lance that has a high elemental attack as well, so that way you can make the most of it and do the most amount of damage. Speaking of elemental attack, we have Elemental Crit. Elemental Crit increases, you know, it's a critical attack, more element than would before. So you do more elemental damage even more when you land a critical hit with your element. Now, what people like to do is like to couple Weakness Exploit Elemental Crit, so that way while they're attacking the weak point of a monster, they get an Elemental Crit on that weak spot as well to do double the extra super duper damage. It's in there. That damage is nice, okay? That does some real good damage. So if I was you, I'd look into it if you want to be the aggressive lancing guy. Also, you can use Razor Sharp, Mind's Eye, or Blunt. Now, Razor Sharp decreases the value in which your weapon will lose sharpness by half. Mind's Eye allows you to attack monsters no matter what. You will not be deflected by any means. All your attacks will go through. And Blunt allows for the weapons that have high green sharpness, or weapons with low sharpness, to actually do more damage. Meaning, well, okay, not really meaning, but look at it like this: if you have a weapon with a lot of green and no blue, or a lot of green, little bit of blue, just a little bit of blue, you can run a Blunt set with a Blunt skill, and having your weapon in the green will give you, I think, Attack Up Large for free. So yeah, people like to run that. It's really cool It's a really cool thing to actually have on the lance. A set that I recommend when doing that though is a Cantor R or a Cantor Standard. Really good for the blunt because it has Mind's Eye and blunt. So that way you can have your low sharpness weapon with the ability to not be deflected at all, so you can maximize your efficiency on your attacks. So look at that. Last but not least, chain crits. The ability to chain critical hits to get, not really. It sounds like it though, don't it? But what it does is the more you hit a monster, the higher your affinity will become. So let's say you have a weapon that has 0 affinity. With chain crit, your weapon can have up to, I think, 40 extra affinity just by hitting the monster consistently. So think about that. Critical hits for free. It's a really, really good ability. I like coupling it with weapons that have high affinity anyway, like Narakuga weapons with plus 40 affinity. Add an extra another 30 or 40, and you're looking at some seriously stupid high affinity. But those are the skills for the defensive Lancer. Now there's one other Lancer out there, of course. There is the evading Lancer, the evade Lancer if you will, to evade Lance, what have you. Now the only ability you really should have with that is evasion plus 2. Evade extender, I know you're thinking, yo, I can move further away. You don't want that. The lance is a weapon of precise strikes. When you move out of range of those precise strikes, you're useless. Evade extender pushes you further out than you would love to actually be in. The best way in which you can actually use evade extender with the lance is not back hop, it's actually to sidestep. So that way, if you're attacking a monster's body, sidestepping to the left or sidestepping to the right would benefit you better than actually jumping backwards. And when you come back to, you know, give the monster a flurry of blows, your first 2 attacks might miss because you're not positioned correctly. Where in which, if you were to sidestep, you could probably get the hit in, but you're not going to be as precise because you're not going to hit that same position that you want hit over and over again. So if you're going to be an evade Lancer, just stick to evasion. You can use sets like Narakuga, I believe Gore Magala has evasion as well, or the Deviant Narakuga for a good evasive set. But with those skills and everything out of the way, let's talk about sets in general. Now, remember when I talked about guard would be the ability that you need no matter what? Well, if you're going to make a lance set, you need to actually start with that ability, guard. Now, I have a list of notable lancing sets you guys should totally look into. These all have guard on them, starting from low rank and ending up in high. But from low rank, let's start like this. There's not that many in low rank. I'm only going to give you guys 3 recommendations in low rank. You can either use battle armor, it's called battle. Low rank stuff, it gives you guard and attack. 6 points into the attack actually. It has 5 slots as well, so you can gem in more attack or you can gem in more guard. Because it only gives you guard 1. Really great. It has an anti-theft, I think, in the later levels as well. But it's a really good set. I highly recommend it. If attack isn't your thing and defense is your thing, you can use Hermitar. Hermitar gives you plus 5 into defense and gives you guard as well. Now the only bad thing about Hermitar is that it gives you negative to constitution, but it still has 5 slots, so you can gem out that negative to constitution and gem more defense or gem in more health because it gives you health as well. Moving from those guys, we're going to go to Laggy, which is the last low rank armor I would highly recommend that guys get if you're going to be into that lancing stuff. Laggy gives you 8 points in the guard and 10 points in the stamina recovery up. That is amazing, because early, if you remember, I talked about having stamina recovery up and guard as the 1-2 punch for defensive lancing. It is really good, okay guys, really good. I recommend these sets. Now moving over to high rank, you can run the same 2 again, battle and Hermitar. Easy to get because they're very low in the high rank side, so if you're trying to optimize yourself the best you can, totally run those things. But as you climb the ranks, you're gonna get more access to more lancing sets. Zamtrios is a good set to have. It gives you guard, 13 points in the guard, cold-blooded, and negative to fire resistance. Now it just means that you don't have to fight anything fire related, or if you're about that life, you can gem out that fire resistance and be okay with it. But remember, it only has 2 slots in that armor set. You can use those 2 slots to get you guard plus 2 and cold-blooded. Cold-blooded is really cool because it increases your attack when you're in cold areas or when you drink a cold drink. Now the opposite to this armor set is the Ignactor, which gives you guard, 10 points in the guard, and the ability Hot-Blooded, which gives you an attack boost in hot areas or when you drink a hot drink. Now with the 4 slots as opposed to the 2 slots from Zamtrios, you can technically gem in the same amount of guard as you would the Zamtrios would allow you to actually have the same amount of guard, because I mean it only gives you 10 points into it as opposed to 13. If you use the guard talisman, it's it gives you 3 points of guard for 2 slots. So if you do the math, it's the same thing, what have you. Moving from those guys, you can go to Lagiacrus, which in my opinion is one of my favorites to have. It gives you stamina recovery up, elemental attack, and guard. Okay, 8 points of guard in there as well, so you still have to gem that in. But if you run that set, you're going to be in really, really good hands. I highly recommend that particular lancing set, the Lagiacrus kind, high rank of course. Transcending through this, we are going to talk about the Drill Tusk Tetsukabra. Drill Tusk Tetsukabra, the Deviant if you will, has an insanely good guard set. It gives you guard plus 2 off the rip, weakness exploit. Its soul skill is adrenaline and something, not adrenaline, excuse me, what's the one take DAC? We only do this in one take. What's it called? Spirit. Is it Spirit? It's Challenger plus 2, I believe, and something else. But yo, that's a really, really good set to actually have on a lance, honestly, truth be told. I would run that if you're about that deviant life, okay? Dead serious. It's really good. You get your guard, you get your weakness exploit. If you want to be an offensive lancer, there you go. And with Challenger plus 2, there you go. Okay, your attack and your affinity goes up when the monster's in rage. You're using weakness exploit to do extra damage to the weak spots, and you have your guard. What more can you want from an attacking set? Alright, so moving from the Drill Tusk, we get to what's known as the endgame stuff. These are the armors that you're probably gonna have when you get closer to the endgame of the of Monster Hunter, of course. Star Rook DLC is amazing because it gives you guard plus 2, load up, which you can technically use as a gun lance or you can use as a lance because it gives you razor sharp as well. Load up, razor sharp, guard plus 2. What more can you want? Doesn't give you any skills in don't give you any slots, but it has great skills. And if you're a gun lancer as well, you can couple it, or you can switch between lance or gun lance with this. Speaking of switching between lance and gun lance, one armor set I forgot to mention was Guardian. Guardian U to be exact. Guardian U gives you 10 points in the guard and 12 points in the artillery, with 3 slots to do whatever you wish with them. What you could do is you could gem in artillery expert and get you a talisman to put the rest in guard plus 2, so that way you can have a really good artillery set, a gun lancing set, or a lancing set, and just not go into the artillery stuff. You can put more into the lancing if you will. It's just something that I want to mention because it does have guard and I use it a lot as well. EX Kush, EX Raytheon S, and EX Shagru Magala. These are the end game ones for damn sure you're gonna want. EX Raytheon is probably the most well balanced lancing set in the game. It gives you guard plus 2, guard up, guts. Yeah, I think that's it. Guard plus 2, guard up, and guts. I have it as guard plus 2, guard up, guts, and constitution. You can also gem in guard up, guard plus 2, not constitution, stamina recovery, and guts. If you do any of those skills, that is your best defensive lancing set, hands down. The other sets on this list, they have more utility, not so much in being helping be a lancer, but utility as a hunter. So if you want utility like chain crit, that's also an offensive lancing set, offensive lancing skill, coupled with it was this other ability, I totally forget what it was, that EX Kush has. Has Volt. You can use Volt for your aerial lancing set if you will. It has to have skills that can be offensive or defensive or what have you. They're all really good. EX Kush, EX Raytheon S, and EX Shagru Magala. Now, those are the most notable guard lancing sets. There's a couple of sets that I recommend you use that don't have guard in them, but have stamina recovery up that you should look into, that you can put guard into as well. I'll go over them really quickly, so that way this video isn't like mad long. But I would recommend, if you want to go with the defensive skills of stamina, recovery up, and what have you, you can either use Astalos, which has stamina recovery up and chain crit, so that's defense and offense, and you can gem in your guard and be good to go. You have Strider, which is an insanely good set if you like vaulting, if you like aerial. Teostra S, which also gives you affinity plus 10, that's not right. Spirit plus 10. Challenger, that's the name of the skill, I'm sorry guys. The Challenger. EX Tigrex X gives you stamina recovery up, constitution, and stamina. So you can actually have, with this set, if you gem it in just right, you can have all 3 skills that make you the best defensive lancer of all time. Stamina, recovery up, constitution, and guard. But that's what EX Tigrex has. But with all this being said, this is all the information I could really give you guys when it comes to skills and sets that we recommend. So let's move over to the hunting styles first. Well, next rather. But first, I'm gonna talk about the striker skill, because it's the skill they use the most. Then we're gonna go and talk about the guard, excuse me, not the guard, the guild, the aerial, and the adept skill styles as well. So the striker style is my favorite style because it's the way in which you've been lancing for about the past 10 years. Even though guild is supposed to be what you were supposed to be lancing like, it's not. Guild is actually different. Striker is basic, there's nothing flashy to it. You get 3 pokes mid and you get 3 pokes high. Horizontal or vertical is what we like to call them. The difference between these two is that the vertical pokes do more damage, while the horizontal pokes cover more ground as you do them. So a common practice in which us lancers like to do is we like to use 1 horizontal thrust followed by 2 vertical thrusts, so that way when we back hop to continue the combo again, we actually reset to neutral position. Another tool that we have is that we have what is known as the advancing guard. It's simple. All you have to do if you're using striker, guild, or adept is to hold R, use forward X, hold R, forward X. What it allows us to do is it allows us to move forward, advance if you will, and guard at the same time. Really useful when fighting monsters who have a fireball. You can actually go through the fireball, or whenever a monster is going to attack you, you can block through the attack. You can deflect fireballs, like I say, you can go through attacks. You can do this so that way you can close the gap between you and the monster while maintaining a bit of safety. You can follow up this attack by pressing X at the end of the advancing guard into a shield bashing attack. This attack does KO damage, so if you actually want to knock a monster out, you can do this in the same fashion. You can use it to knock out small monsters, you can use it to knock out larger monsters. You can also use it to deflect fireballs at the very peak of your advancing guard. Very useful tool, very useful for Lance. I totally recommend you guys learn to master this one right off the jab. Now, another really good tool that you really need to master that actually works for guild, striker, and aerial is the counter. Now, the counter is simple. To perfect it is a bit tough though, because it's timing based. To do it though, you need to press R and then A. If you hold down R, you go for the full counter. If you tap R and A, you get the light counter, I like to say. You can counter it at any given time in between. Excuse me, you can cancel it anytime in between by letting go of the R button and the A button. So you can do quick, or you can hold it and cancel midway. A lot of people like to do, me included, if I know the attacker is going to be coming at me in short term, I just do the light counter. If I am not exactly sure when he's going to be coming, but I see him winding up an attack, I'll do the long counter, giving myself a little bit of time to wait for him to actually attack me. Granted though, if you miss this, you're wide open because it is an attack. Now, aside from that, we have the charge. Every single lancing style can do it. Very easy to do and very annoying nonetheless. At the end of this attack though, you can press X with the striker. If you do this attack after you charge, it has the highest damage multiplier. Well, without being really weird, it is the strongest hitting single strike for the lance, period. Striker style, charge, lance, thrust, okay? Other classes can do this, but it's not going to be as strong. But what other classes can do that the striker class itself cannot actually do is that the other classes can actually go from the charge to a hop into an attack, giving you the ability to mount monsters if need be, or they have the ability to go into their charge and actually do a backwards attack. This backwards attack will stop them from advancing forward, spin them around, and attack behind them, repositioning them if a monster is actually moving a bit too quickly and actually moves away from the charge itself, or if you miss the charge and you have to turn back around and attack what's behind you, things like that. Now those are the utmost basics of the lance. After that, there's particular things that make individual styles different. Now for the striker, since we're using the striker right now, I will totally go over all of these. Like all the styles will make them a little bit different, but for the striker, it's minute. You get 3 hunter arts. You can use 3 hunter arts, and while you use the striker style, you have the ability to increase, or your hunter arts will increase quicker than that if you have to use guild, aerial, or adept. Other than that, the charge at the attack after your charge has the highest amount of damage right there, and your attacks are quick and single. Other than that, not much else is different. Okay, so what sets Guild apart from that of Striker is only two things. Guild is the amalgamation of everything we've ever learned with Lancing ever, like all the new abilities that happen to Lance. Guild has it. Like everything that we've done. Even this new ender of an attack. After your third thrust, you have this one thrust that actually has 3 attacks into it. It's a triple hitting attack. You know, it works just the same as anything else, just that it has a very long animation and it's 3 hits in one attack. So theoretically, you can actually get 5 hits out of your standard 1, 2, 3 combo. I mean, it's pretty cool. I don't like it. It takes too long to come out. You can't cancel it. So once it comes out, you can't cancel it. That's as fast as you can actually cancel the attack. The animation is there. You have to go through the full animation. You can't cancel 1 hit or 2 hits or whatever. It has to come out completely, which is a bother to me, but it's not too big of a deal, honestly. But it's why I kind of like don't use it. Another thing that this has that Striker doesn't have is when you press X and A together, you have this sweeping attack right here. Really useful for when trying to get small monsters off your back. You know what I mean? You can combo it with any of the strikes. You can do 1 thrust into it. You can do 2 thrusts into it. But it's really only for getting rid of small monsters. But that's truly the only difference between Striker and Guild. Those two attacks there. Okay, so Aerial's a little bit different. Aerial doesn't have a back hop like the other styles do. If you were to hit B with Aerial, you'll just do a jump. You can use this jump to jump off of, you know, enemies, small monsters, big monsters, what have you. It also allows you to only use your side hops if you are to evade within a small ground of yourself. Other than that, the Aerial cannot forward advance. It does not have the ability to forward advance. Okay, you can't. If you were to try to do so, you will do nothing. You will look silly. Alright, you will look silly trying to do so. So all you have is your forward hop, so that way you can mount the monsters. You have, well, truth be told, that's like it. That's all Aerial really has. Aerial has the jump. It can't back hop because it has the jump, but it can mount monsters fairly easy because you can just, you know, jump off of them, no problems, right? Doesn't have a back hop. They replaced that for your forward hop, so that's Aerial for you. It does have the charge into the jump. Oh, I ran out of stamina. It does have the charge into jump. That it still has that and what have you. But that's about it. That's all Aerial does. That's different from like anyone. Okay, so Adept is a little bit different. It's all about the new counter that it has. It loses the standard counter, but gains its own new flashy counter. That's pretty much the main difference between Adept and practically everyone else. Guild, for the most part. So when a monster goes to attack you, if you guard at the right time, you are actually able to counter with a very flashy counter attack, actually. The only issue I have with this counter attack is that it takes too long to actually come out. Like, when you first do the shield animation, you circle the shield around like this. This is what it looks like. While this happens, you're okay to block everything. But within the shield animation, if you launch an attack, or if a monster launches the attack at you, you can block it with the new counter. It's really cool. It's nice and flashy. It's just that it takes too long, like I said, for it to really come out and be useful. I mean, it's still pretty flashy, but other than that, that's about it. It does hit pretty strongly, I'll admit. But that's honestly it. Personally, I don't really see myself using Adept too much. Simply because, like I said, the animation comes out really slow. But even though it is a decent attack, nonetheless, I don't really see myself using it too often. But that's Adept for you. Now, on to the Hunter arts. Now, Hunter arts for the shield, the lance, are pretty cool. Actually, you have the Shield Assault, the Corkscrew Jab, and the Enraged Guard. Now, each of these 3 attacks are actually really powerful for the lance. Like, I think all 3 of them are like seriously detrimental to the lance. So you can choose any combination of these and be okay. But the one I strongly suggest you guys use for the most part all the time is the Enraged Guard attack. Enraged Guard allows you to absorb a monster's attack and give yourself a nice attack buff. All you have to do is activate the ability, let a monster hit you, and depending on how strong that attack is will depend on how much attack you'll get as your buff. I totally missed. Okay, that was totally it, but I totally missed because I'm doing this live and I suck. Anyway, you see me do it thousands of times in videos now, guys. You don't need to see what it looks like. But if the attack is hard enough, you'll get a bigger bonus and what have you. So let's go to the Shield Assault. Now the Shield Assault is a lot of fun in my opinion, simply because it's the same exact attack as the charge, but this time you actually have your lance out instead of your, not your lance, you have your shield out as opposed to your lance, meaning you're blocking the entire time you're running. And you also do KO damage. You can follow up with this attack, the Shield Assault attack, with a thrust of your very own to do a high amount of damage. It's a really cool attack. Like I said, you're blocking the entire time. You do knock all your friends out the way, but you can absorb incoming attacks as well. Now the last skill is the Corkscrew Jab. The Corkscrew Jab is a very strong attack for the lance. It allows the lance to deal great amounts of damage in a very short amount of time, meaning great damage one hit kind of thing. Excuse me, great damage one hit. But to do it though, you must first charge up a lot of energy. It takes a while, not a long while, but you're left defenseless for a minute. But once you get it, it's a really strong attack. I use it to break heads, cut tails, detonate bombs, what have you. It really allows the lance to do serious amounts of damage, similar to that of like a level 3 greatsword charge in the lance. So it's great. I use it as my main means of attack. I would choose this over the Shield Assault, but that's simply because I don't like charging and I don't like knocking people over. But those are the skills, and well, excuse me, those are the arts, and that's everything I got for you guys today. That's actually it. I have nothing else for you today. This is a very long video. I've given you guys so much information that it's insane. So I want you guys to go home, take this information, and become Master Lancers of your very own. With that being said, guys, it's been your boy Dak908, aka the Dig Dug himself. I will see you all in the next video. The next one just might be some gun lance, and if you guys really like this video, we can do a lot more. We can do more than just gun lance. But till then, I'll see you guys later. It's been your boy. Take care.